Oh, I think we are live. Good afternoon to you all, and thank you for joining us. Welcome to this live broadcast, as we call it, the chat OMI. We are live on Facebook, we are live on Instagram, we are live on YouTube. I'm not sure if we're on Instagram, but yeah, I think we are. Greetings and welcome to this live broadcast then, where we are having a conversation with the General Administration, some members of the General Administration. Not all of them could join us, but we have 3 members with us who will be participating in this conversation. And we're simply trying to find out what they spoke about and what they decided on during the last general plenary session, which they just had a few weeks ago. They finished on Friday, if I'm not mistaken. My name is Bonga Majola, and I'm really delighted to be with you this afternoon. And thank you for joining us. With me is Father Anthony Bochum, the Vicar General. He's joining us live from Poland. Immediately after the plenary session, he decided to run away. He was so tired and exhausted. He went to see his family. He's currently on holiday, a little holiday at home, and he's joining us this evening directly from his mother's house. And then we have Father Raymond Mwangala. Father Raymond is the general assistant, the first assistant, and he's joining us. He's live from his office here in Rome. As we know, Father Raymond is responsible for mission. Thank you, Father. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we also have Father James Probst. He's a general counselor from US, Canada. And thank you, Father Jim, for joining us. He's also in Rome on the first floor in his office. That's where he's joining us live from. We're not going to waste a lot of time. You're most welcome to send us your questions through the live chat, and we will see if we'll be able to take some of those. But first of all, before we invite Father Anthony, he'll be the first person I'll be asking some questions. It is important to let us remind ourselves what exactly we are doing here. So this is for us, as we call it, Omi Chat, a moment where we try to be together as a family, as a congregation. Wherever you are, you're joining us. It's a moment of animation, but also it's a moment of unity where we try to enforce these bonds of unity among us. Something very simple. We just have a chat, as we call it. It's an initiative, this one, of the General Communications Service. And our mission is to animate the congregation, the whole Oblate family. So we try to use these media, digital tools that we have to try and animate us and to inspire each other, but also to be closer to one another through these means. Okay, Father Anthony, welcome once again. It will be interesting. Maybe we start by just a simple question. If you can just tell us, what is this? What is the plenary session from the beginning? Was it the end of... when did you start? Immediately after Easter, you went on a plenary session for a couple of weeks. If you can just tell us briefly, what is a plenary session? What is its main purpose? And how often do we have these sessions? How long does it take? Maybe what is the typical schedule of a plenary session? Over to you, Anthony.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for the invitation. No, simply, plenary session is a meeting of central government, and that is very, I would say, the most important meeting of central government. And during this meeting, we deliberate about the most important items regarding the congregation. That's what I said already. That is very important that all members of central government are present during this time. So that is time of discernment, of reflection, of evaluation, of planning of the future. So that's all the most important things are happening during the plenary session. And usually we have 3 times a year plenary session. According to our documents, it should be 2 times, at least 2 times a year, but we have 3 times a year this plenary session. And usually it lasts 4 weeks at least, but usually 5 weeks. The last plenary session lasted 5 weeks. For us, it's very important also because that is community meeting for us, because usually we are traveling, we are visiting, and during the plenary session we are together. So that is also for us the time of sharing, of being together, of having recreation together, social together. So that is very important because we are not only team for work, but also we are community. We would like to be really community. So that is the plenary session, more of plenary session. The schedule, I will not mention everything because during the meeting probably we will mention some other things, but very simple. So we start our meeting usually with reports from different visits, personal reports, so reports from our activities, what we did between two plenary sessions, from different consultations. So that's generally saying reports. Another important item during the plenary session is appointments. That's appointments of provincials, appointments of provincial councils, appointments of members of different committees, appointments of responsible for different services, so appointments. And after, during the plenary session, we discuss also what we call on main team. This time, that is, I think, normal. This time we discussed or we dedicated a lot of time to general chapter. General chapter finished in October last year. So still we discuss a lot about how to implement the recommendation of the chapter. So that took a lot of time during the last plenary session. And in the schedule of the plenary session, we have also different meetings. About that, I will speak later with different persons, with different committees. So that is more or less the schedule of a normal plenary session.
Okay, thank you for that. So 5 weeks of just meetings, one meeting after the other. That sounds hectic. Now, it is very important as well to highlight that this is your second session as a new administration. You were appointed during the chapter of October 2022, so September, October 2022, and you are the only member who remained from the last administration of Father Louis Logan. It would be interesting for me to know how has it been for you. How are the new guys integrating? I think you are more of that person who brings the old and the new. How are the new guys integrating? What are the challenges and maybe the opportunities you are seeing in this new administration, in this new team?
I hope they will tell it later also, no? Jim and Raymond, they will speak about that. But what I can
Yes,
say,
I have those questions for them as well.
what I can say that, of course, I am the only old in the new province, in the new general administration, in general council, I would say, but not in central government, because we have General Berser and General Secretary. They are also from the previous administration, so I am not the only one. And we must say also that Superior General is not totally new in General Council because he was consular for the region of Europe 12 years. So that's he knows already how general administration is functioning. So that's I am not the only old member of this central government. And I think what I can say, we are doing well. I think that is still the beginning. We are learning a lot, but I think we started well. What is helping us also, that is what I mentioned already, it's not only the work, but also outing together, sharing our faith, meetings, different, what we can call also side meetings, that is helping to be more integrated as a community. After it is much easier to work together. So I think we started well, we are doing well, but I think they will add later something more.
Okay. I emphasize on that point. I think it's an important point. We see you and we can easily think that you're busy with meetings and taking decisions, but you are a community above all, as we have said. You form a community, and everything is easier once there is a community that you have formed among yourselves, and that's beautiful to know. And of course, the presence and the experience of Chicho from the past administration that helps as well. And what are your activities in between these sessions? What do you do? You've just finished the session. You've gone home. What are the others doing? What do you do in between?
Mm-hmm. So when the plenary session is finishing, that doesn't mean that the work is finished. In fact, the work starts. So many activities between the two plenary sessions. So, for example, different consultations, because during the next plenary session, we'll have also the appointments of the new provincials or provincial councils. So someone of us is going to do consultation. For example, we have here Jim and Raymond. They will go to United States to do consultation, but also Notre Dame de Cap, Philippines, that's the consultation. Different other visits. For example, Father General will go to Bangladesh to celebrate with the delegation the anniversary of beginning of the delegation. And what will be very important during these two plenary sessions, that we have joint session with the region of Latin America. So we, all of us, all members of central government will go to Mexico, because that is the place that when the meeting will take place. And the meeting will be there at the end of August. But before this joint session with the region of Latin America, all of us also we will go to visit different units in Latin America. So from the beginning, practically from the beginning of August, we will go all to Latin America to visit different countries, different units. So Rome will be empty in August because we'll be in travel. We will travel. But also different meetings of committees. There will be a youth ministry commission meeting in Rome. There will be meeting of association of higher learning association, and different other meetings of committees or commissions. So that is the and ordinary work in Rome. So ordinary sessions. I saw the schedule for the next ordinary session. So I think it's 15 items. So also, even those who are staying in Rome, they have a lot of work. And I would mention another thing. You know that to work together is very important to have common language. That is not easy, and we struggle at the beginning of this work of the central administration. So some of us during this time between two plenary sessions will learn language, or English, or Italian, or French. So that is also time to learn the languages.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Before I come back to you, Father Anthony, but I'd like to bring in Father Raymond. This is your second session as the general assistant. How is it going? Is this what you expected? Anthony speaks about 15 items on the agenda from now till the next session. So how are you feeling about all this? How are you doing?
Well, thank you very much, Bonga. After the baptism of fire during the first plenary session in January, February, the second session went much better. It was much more predictable, and I would say we were able to achieve almost everything we had set on the agenda. You know, at the end of our first session in January, February, we had an evaluation of both the process and the dynamics. And during the second session, we were able to make adjustments based on the experience of the first session. And so I would say the second session has been more or less much more predictable, but maybe with less of excitement of the first experience.
Mm. And just on that, you are from different backgrounds, with different expectations, maybe experiences as well, and visions. I'd imagine. I don't know, but how is the working relationship among you? How are you? Father Anthony said you're a good space. You're doing very well together. How are you finding that?
Well, first thing to say is we haven't killed each other. We are still all alive. But yes, as you can imagine, Bonga, the central government is made up of 11 people, and we are from 10 different countries with different backgrounds, with different experiences, different tastes. However, we also share some very fundamental things, our common humanity, our Christianity, the oblate values. During the first session, we spent a lot of time just sharing our stories on the human level so that we could get to know each other. We spent some time also sharing our vocation stories so that we understand where we are coming from. And as Anthony was saying, during the session, we don't just have the formal meetings. We also have time to pray together. We have time for faith sharing. We have outings. And so this makes it possible for us to understand each other and find ways of communicating such that when we get to the formal meetings, we have a better understanding of who is who and how they express themselves. Language has been one of our challenges. Most of us can speak and understand English reasonably well, but not everybody on the council, on the team, is at the same level. And so it calls forth for a lot of patience, because there's a lot of speaking and also listening during the sessions. And I think one thing I can highlight is all the members of the central government have been extremely generous in reaching out to the other, in creating a space in which we can express ourselves freely, even when we differ with each other.
That's beautiful, and no doubt, you know, in the congregation over the past few years, we've been talking a lot about intercultural communities, and you have that huge responsibility to witness to that it's possible to come together and live in one community from different backgrounds, different cultures, and also live together and witness to that, to the mission. And we thank you for that witnessing. Father Jim, are you with us, or are you falling asleep? I don't
No, I am certainly not falling asleep. I'm very much with you.
Good afternoon, Jim, and welcome to you as well. You are also new in all this. I read a beautiful article that was recently published on the newsletter of the U.S. province, where you were asked about your experience in the general administration. What are your feelings? What can you say about what Anthony and Raymond have just shared about your life together as a community in the general administration?
First of all, I think they've captured very well what a lot of our life is like. I want to highlight something that I'm happily surprised at. As diverse a community as we are, and as much as we're on the road all the time, we just come together. We can really count on being with each other these 3, 5 to 6 week times a year, because sometimes there's a retreat attached or so. We do a really good job of sticking together as community. We connect with each other on WhatsApp, or sending messages to and fro in between these general sessions, and even during them sometimes. And we do intentionally try to live community well while we're here. And I've been in communities where I live with certain individuals a lot more than the folks I live with here in the general administration and the central government. But the quality of community and communication, I think, is really quite good and impressive. It speaks well to the strength of the community members' desire to live in community with each other and for the congregation. So that's been a really positive thing for me.
Good, great. Father Anthony, let's get into this session then. Thank you for all your answers as far as your community life and if community life and your life together is concerned. How do you put together the agenda of a plenary session? How do you decide what should be on the agenda and what you're going to talk about for the next 4 or 5 weeks, as we have said? How does that happen? How does that process happen, Anthony?
So we are planning the next plenary session already now. So already we have few points for the next plenary session. And for each plenary session, we have agenda committee. Agenda committee is responsible for putting different items to the program. And after this program is sent to every member of central government, and they can look at that, correct that, give some suggestions. So, and agenda committee during the plenary session is has meetings at least once a week to have evaluation of the program, to see what is missing, what we need to add to the program, and to propose the program for the next week. So agenda committee is generally responsible for the program of the plenary session.
Great. And I'll come back to you, Raymond. Anthony gave us some points from your agenda and how that is put together. And one of those, obviously, as he said earlier on, is appointing provincials and their councillors from different provinces. Share some appointments you made during this session. Maybe who can take that? Anthony, I think. Is that you, Anthony, want to take that? Or Raymond?
I could take it. I could take it up, Bonga.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the first thing to clarify is that according to our constitution and rules, there are certain decisions which the Superior General is obliged to make in plenary session, which means that all the members of his council must be present. Other decisions the General makes in ordinary sessions, and the ordinary sessions take place in between the plenary session and even during the plenary session itself. For the ordinary session, not all members need to be present. He needs the quorum of members to be present, and he can make the decisions. Having said that, when we meet in plenary session, one of the main issues that the constitution and rules require that the General makes decisions in plenary session is the appointment of provincials. And so during this last session, having received the consent of his council, Father General was able to appoint 5 provincials. The provincial of France, the provincial of Haiti, of Colombo, of Cameroon, and of the Congo. He was also able to appoint provincial councils for 4 different provinces: the Assumption province in Canada, the province of Lesotho, the province of France, and the province of Haiti. And just to remind listeners and viewers that it is the Superior General who makes the appointment. Our responsibility as his council is to help him in the discernment, and where the constitutions and rules call for, we have to give our consent. So having received our consent, then the Superior General proceeds to make the appointment. Apart from provincials and councils, there are certain general offices or major offices in the congregation that the Superior General has to appoint the officers for. And during this last session, he appointed a new Procurator General to the Holy See, Father Sakubita Like, and he also appointed a new Director for the Communication Services, yourself, Father Bonga. And so congratulations. Thank you for accepting.
Thank you, Father.
Yeah, the last thing I would like to say about appointments, especially from this last session, is the Superior General received the consent of his council to establish a new office in the congregation, and that is the office of Coordinator for Lay Associates and Associations. And having established that position, Father Ciccio has appointed Stefano Dominici, an Italian lay associate. And so we have a new office, and we have the first office bearer who will help the congregation to coordinate our work with lay associates.
Mm-hmm. Good. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that. I see there are a few people still joining us, and welcome to you all on Facebook. We can see all your comments, and also on YouTube. Thank you for joining us from the different parts of the Oblate world. Many of our lay associates as well are following this live broadcast. We are having a conversation with the General Council members on the past plenary session, and we are trying to find out what exactly they discussed and the appointments they've made, but also their experience as a community. How have they been growing together, and where are they leading us as a congregation? Because they've got this huge mandate, a huge task of leading this huge Oblate family, which was given to them by the General Chapter. And just to talk about that, I'll come to you, Father Jim. The chapter gave you as a mandate, as a general administration. How are you advancing in the recommendations that the chapter asked? We saw this in the in the chapter document that came out a few weeks ago. How are you advancing? How are those recommendations coming to place for the gym?
Okay. Yes, thank you. Well, it's really quite a list of recommendations and mandates. There are 39 of them in the second half of that document. And then if we look back into the first part that talks about the values addressed in the chapter, there's even more to be added into that list of 39. A couple of them are easy and done. And we just talked about one of them, the appointment of a new lay director. Right now, we need to remember that this is a 6-year project. It's not a short-term list of things you check off and do. And some of them are quite involved. So right now we're getting all of our projects lined up, and that's taking a bit of time. We're really doing a good job in terms of trying to organize all these things. But it's going to be a while before we see some action on them because a lot of preparatory work needs to be done. And so we're in that organizing stage right now. I myself want to see things happen. When we decide to do something, I like to take some action and see it done. So I'm glad for the things we've done, and I'm eager to see a bit more concrete plan getting lined out. And Raymond's doing an excellent job in putting that together and tracking all the information. So we can we have a chart we look at to see what are each of these 39 projects, who's in charge of it. It's assigned some projects, some steps towards doing it, and timelines. And not that that's carved in stone, but it gives us a measuring tool to make sure we stay on top of things. So right now we're in the organizational stage, and I just ask people to remember we're about 9% into a 6-year project. So we not to delay or do anything or give excuses, but if you're eager to see something happening, it might take a little longer than you think.
Yeah, but it will happen.
Well, we hope it will happen. We're going to do our best to make sure that things do happen.
Yeah. That's great. Father Anthony, what were the highlights of this session? I know that you had people as well, some guests that you invited from outside who gave you different sessions during your meetings. Well, what were the highlights? What stood out during this past month together? Besides that,
before I will speak about the guests, because we had a lot of guests during this plenary session, I would highlight the work on the chapter document, because we dedicated really a lot of time for that. And what Jim said, we are 9-10% maybe we did already, but we have many ideas, that is sure. We have prepared some kind of document, we call it planning document, when all the activities we would like to do are in. And we also put their name, who would be responsible for that, and timeline to realize certain recommendation of the chapter. So I think we start well the work. Of course, now really we must realize what we prepare, and I think we will cope with that. What I mentioned that during this plenary session we had a lot of guests from our congregation, but also from outside of our congregation. For example, we had a half-day Cardinal O'Malley, who is responsible for the Commission in Vatican, for the Commission of the Protection of Minors and Vulnerable Persons. He came to us with Andrew Small Oblate, who is also working in this commission. So they spoke to us about work of this commission, about the importance of protection, of prevention regarding the minors and vulnerable person. We had also Secretary of the Union of Superior Generals, Emily Turu. His brother, he was Superior General of Marist Brothers, and he spoke also about the work of this Union of Superior General. He invited also us to maybe to join the project which is called South Sudan Mission. Different congregations are present there in one community, a few communities, but in one community, members of different congregations. We had with us also Graciela Eckhart, who is responsible for our projects in the congregation. She is helping us a lot in this. We had the visit of Pierre Fortin, who is our lawyer and is helping us to prepare different documents. We met with responsible for different services in our congregation. We had meeting with formators of our IRS and many other meetings. So a lot of guests. I think that was really richness of this plenary session. So we hope the next plenary session will have other guests, and that will improve also our work.
Yeah, and obviously the whole idea is to enrich yourself with different experiences from different people, and one of the things you have decided to do in this administration is to get the directors of general services involved in your plenary sessions. You have particular meetings, that days which are set aside where you meet with them, you listen to them. How does that work? Can you say a little bit on that, either Anthony or Raymond, anyone who would like to talk about that?
I can comment on that, Bonga.
Okay.
Go ahead. So this began with our first plenary session where on certain days, at least 2 or 3 times, with members of the general administration, this is the leaders of the different services of the congregation, we get together either for a moment of ongoing formation, but also to coordinate our work together. And up to now, what we have been focusing on is studying the acts of the chapter and then assigning responsibilities for who will do what. And so during this second session, we had at least 3 meetings with the general administration or the different services. And we looked again at our planning document to see whether there were any plans or ideas that had been left out in the first draft, but also to report on some of the activities that have been done. We have already started initiating certain activities. For instance, the establishment of the position of coordinator of lay associates and associations is the first step in trying to respond to the mandates of the chapter. And so every time now we have a plenary session, we hope to meet at least twice or maybe even more with the general services. First of all, to hear what they have been doing in between the plenary sessions, but also to look at our planning document together.
Good. Maybe for those who don't know what we're talking about when we speak of general services, talking about the Director of Justice and Peace and Integrity of Creation. There is the Director of Oblate Studies, Fabio Chadi. There is the Director of the Archives, Father Jerome. We have as well Father
Postulator General. Postulator General.
Postulator General, Father Diego, and there is the Communications Director, who is Father Bonga, take over from Father Shanil. And I think I've mentioned all of them, isn't it? Did I leave anybody out?
Procurator.
Procurator.
And then there is the Procurator, yes, Father Leake now is taking over from Father Constant. And so with these services, you meet together a few times during your session to enrich each other and to see a way forward, as Raymond has explained to us. But I know that immediately after the session, you all get to travel for different reasons, for consultations, but also for a moment of rest. And who will be going where during this time around? Father Jim, what's happening? Who's staying in Rome and who's traveling, and where are they going?
That's the $1 million question. And we have a special calendar that we use just to keep track. I can barely keep track of my own calendar. So asking me what other people are doing, I'm happy to know what I'm doing. I know, for example, next week I'm off to Quebec for a quick meeting with the Notre Dame de Cap province there to do finish their consultation for provincial council. Then I'm back here for an entire month of June, because as was said earlier, a few of us always have to be around for these so-called ordinary sessions to make sure we have enough members of the General Council along to deal with the regular business. I'm looking at, can I share my screen here? Can I click this present button and show something? Is that possible?
Yes, that's possible. Let's see if...
Let's try this. Share screen. Share screen.
On the other side should be able to help us if it doesn't work.
Let's see.
Let's see.
Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. I want to hear this one. Yeah, I'm ready to go. Here it is. So if you can see that document, can you see a document that says visits of the members?
No, it's not seen.
Okay, somebody has to show that. Somebody there has to show.
It's coming. There it is.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. There's Father Chicho's schedule, and then Father Antoni's schedule, and Father Raymond's schedule, and Father Soto and a Capena and Jorge. Since I'll skip down to mine because it's short and easy. Now in June I'm here, but I'm also doing these ordinary sessions, and I'm also spending 3 hours every day for 4 weeks in Italian school, a language school, because it's not just English we need to learn. We have to be able to work in the country here, where as a new immigrant to Italy, that's important. In July to August, in U.S. consultation and holidays, about half of each are there. But that also involves 8 different trips across 4 different time zones in the United States. So then the first half of August, I'm visiting Brazil, and then we're all in Mexico for these dates, August 16th and so everybody's schedule is down here. And that's one way we keep track. This is what we post on the board for the community, so people know where we are and how what they can expect to find us around the house or not. And Father Anthony puts that together. That's his task.
My goodness, that looks hectic. So
it looks hectic because it is hectic.
It is hectic, and then of course it's not just visiting. There's a lot of listening. You journey with people. You listen, and then you have to make a report and come back and share that with the rest of the council, so that you can help Chicho to make a final decision, as Father Raymond has told us. So that's very interesting, and good luck to you all. Anthony, looking ahead, what's the next session looking like? As we've spoken about setting the agenda, but what do you think will be, besides you've got the appointments in new provincials and other provinces as well? What would you like to say about that?
That will be the 3rd plenary session. Our plenary session that will be again easier, because we are learning, so that will be easier, because if you repeat something few times, that is always easier. But you mentioned already that we'll have another appointments of provincials, provincial councillor, and different other responsibilities. So that will be also the time of appointments, but also that will be the time dedicated again to the chapter document, to the chapter recommendations. So we must follow up this, and maybe with concrete steps already, concrete decisions, because that's we must do. We have what I said, we have already a lot of ideas, but now really we must put in practice this recommendation, realize that recommendations. We have work also on certain documents which must be approved. So I mentioned the name of Pierre Fortin, our legal advisor. He will be with us, and we must finish some long documents, and we must approve them. That will be also in agenda for the next plenary session. We must prepare the orientation session for major superiors. We have already appointed 35 provincials, superior of delegation, and vicar provincials, 35. So we must prepare 2 orientation sessions for them. They will come to Rome for 2 weeks to have some, we call it charming school. So that's also, we must prepare this event during the next plenary session. And of course, the work of internal committees and formation, because different formation session we are going to prepare. So that will be work of next plenary session.
Good. My brothers, I don't want to go too long. This has been great, and there's a lot of people who have followed us with all the comments. There's another one here in Spanish from Father Hipólito, who is in Aix-en-Provence. Different languages in Spanish and in French, people have followed us. As you know, as I repeat what I've been trying to say, this is all about animating the congregation, trying to take whatever is happening in Rome and we bring it out to the world, to the Oblate world, so that we can be united as a family and we get to know what is happening here and what inspires you, what spirit is animating you as the general administration. And we share that with the whole world. So that's what is important about it. At the same time, we're trying to capture as well the spirit in the Oblate world, and we bring it into Rome. That's what you do when you travel and you do your consultations. So thank you very much for making time. We don't want this to be too long and to be tiring. And thanks to all of you who have followed us. I'm not sure if there is anything you'd like to add, brothers, before we conclude. Yes, Jim, go ahead.
Congratulations, Bangladesh, on 50 years.
Grazie, thank you. Thank you, Father Jim. And then I would like to thank my technical staff. As you can see, there are 4 screens. I've got a lot of people working behind the scenes. So thank you very much, guys. Thank you for what you're doing there. And maybe thank as well Shanil. Shanil is still with us and working very hard. So thank you to all of you, and thank you to Shanil as well. He's following the program as we speak. Okay, shall we conclude and we bring this to an end?
Mm-hmm.
So thank you very much once again for making time. Anthony, enjoy your holiday and greetings to your family, especially to your mom.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bonga, and bye, everybody.
Good. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.
Well done.
Great.
Thanks.
Thank you. We're ready to go. Thank you, Bonaventure.